The crimson sun of Valthara IV cast long shadows across the crystalline forest as Celine Varick adjusted her rifle's thermal scope. She had been tracking the Screeth hunting party for 3 hours now, and they were closing in on something. Something small. Something vulnerable. Her boots crunched softly against the azure grass as she moved through the alien undergrowth. The distress calls had started an hour ago, high-pitched keening that reminded her of earth wolves, but with a melodic quality that tugged at something primal in her chest. The galactic community had warned her about the Valtharan apex predators. Dangerous, they said. Aggressive. Stay clear of their territories. But Celine Varick hadn't survived 15 years as a frontier scout by following safe advice. She crested a ridge and froze. Below, in a shallow ravine, 7 Screeth warriors, reptilian mercenaries known for their brutality, surrounded a small cave entrance. Their plasma rifles glowed with lethal intent. And huddled at the cave mouth, 5 small forms covered in silver-blue fur, their eyes reflecting the dying light like scattered stars. Predator cubs. The largest cub, barely the size of a terrier, stood at the front. His ears were pinned back, his tiny fangs bared in a futile display of defiance. Even from this distance, Celine could see the intelligence in those amber eyes. The determination. He was protecting the younger ones. "Tovik, get back!" One of the smaller cubs whimpered in the universal trade language, her voice breaking. So the brave one had a name. Celine's jaw tightened. She had seen this scenario play out too many times across too many worlds. Mercenaries, poachers, slavers, they all looked the same when they pointed weapons at the defenseless. The Galactic Council would condemn her interference. The Screeth clan would demand her head. Her own species diplomats would call it another human incident. She didn't care. Celine descended the ridge like a ghost, her movements honed by years of combat. The first Screeth didn't even hear her approach. Her blade found the gap between his armor plates with surgical precision, and he dropped without a sound. The second turned at the disturbance but caught her pulse round directly in his throat. His weapon clattered uselessly against the stones. Now they knew she was here. "Human!" The Screeth leader hissed, his forked tongue tasting the air. "This is not your concern. These cubs are worth 30,000 credits each on the black market. Walk away and live." Celine stepped into the open, her rifle leveled. Blood spattered her tactical vest, and her eyes burned with cold fury. "Counter-offer," she said, her voice steady as stone. "You leave now, and maybe one of you gets to report back what happened here." The Screeth leader laughed, a rasping sound that echoed off the ravine walls. "5 of us remain, human. You are alone. I've faced worse odds." They moved simultaneously. Plasma bolts scorched the air where Celine had been standing a heartbeat before. She rolled behind a boulder, returned fire. And one Screeth screamed as superheated rounds punched through his chest plate. 4 left. She vaulted over her cover, firing mid-air, and caught another in the shoulder. He spun and fell. 3 remaining. The Screeth spread out, trying to flank her. Professional. Disciplined. Deadly. But Celine Varick had been fighting since she was 16, in wars that would have broken lesser soldiers. She read their movements like a familiar book. When the one on her left charged, she sidestepped and used his momentum against him, redirecting him into his companion's line of fire. The friendly fire was catastrophic. 2 left. The leader roared and activated his energy blade, charging directly at her. Celine dropped her rifle, too slow for close quarters, and drew her combat knife. The Screeth was faster, stronger, and had a longer reach. He should have won. He didn't. Celine ducked under his first slash, parried the second, and found the soft tissue under his jaw. He gurgled and collapsed. The final Screeth, seeing his entire team decimated in under 3 minutes, dropped his weapon and fled into the forest. Celine let him go. Let him tell the story. She turned slowly toward the cave, her chest heaving, adrenaline still flooding her system. The cubs stared at her with wide, terrified eyes. All except Tovik. The small predator took one hesitant step forward, then another. His nose twitched as he scented the blood on her hands. "You ... Saved us," Tovik said, his voice young but steady. "Why? Your kind fears us. Calls us monsters." Celine knelt, bringing herself to eye level with the cub. She was exhausted, battered, and knew this would complicate her life immeasurably. But when she looked into those amber eyes, she saw something that transcended species. Courage, loyalty, the same fierce protectiveness. She had witnessed in soldiers who gave everything for their squad. Because someone had to, she said simply. And because you were willing to die protecting them. That takes. The ground trembled. Celine's hand flew to her rifle as a low rumble echoed through the ravine. The cubs squeaked in terror but also ... recognition? Hope? Then she emerged from the tree line. The Alpha was magnificent and terrifying in equal measure. 3 times the height of a human, her silver-blue fur rippled over corded muscle. Her eyes, the same amber as Tovik's, locked onto Celine with predatory intensity. Claws the length of daggers extended from massive paws. The very air seemed to compress around her presence. Celine didn't move. Didn't reach for her weapon. It would be useless anyway. The Alpha approached slowly, each step measured. She scented the air, taking in the scene, the dead Screeth, the unharmed cubs, the human covered in alien blood standing protectively between her children and danger. "Mama!" Tovik cried, rushing forward. The Alpha's gaze never left Celine as her cubs gathered around her, chattering excitedly about the fierce human who had fought like a storm. She lowered her massive head, listening, then rose to her full height. Celine's heart hammered. This was it. The Alpha could end her in seconds. Part of her accepted that fate. At least the cubs were safe, but the Alpha didn't attack. Instead, she took 3 deliberate steps forward, closing the distance until she stood directly before Celine. Their eyes met, human and predator, warrior and mother. Then slowly, the Alpha lowered her head in an unmistakable gesture. Respect. Tovik translated, his voice filled with awe. "She says you have the heart of the pack. That you fought not for gain, but for honor," she asks ... "What can the Valthuran packs offer a warrior such as you?" Celine exhaled shakily, a tired smile crossing her face. She looked at the cubs, then back at the Alpha. "Just tell her," Celine said, "that humans don't leave kids behind. Any kids, ever." The Alpha's eyes gleamed with understanding. She made a deep, rumbling sound, something between a purr and a growl, and the cubs gathered around Celine, rubbing against her legs in gratitude. In that moment, on an alien world beneath a crimson sun, a new alliance was forged. Not through treaties or diplomacy, but through the universal language that transcended species. Courage, sacrifice, protection of the innocent. The human way.